Hey aliens. When we started this channel, we started doing effects pedals, which admittedly might not have been the best place to start. Probably would have been a better place to start with the actual guitar itself. So that's what this episode is about. Welcome back, aliens. / people from the future. And I forgot to do probably the most obvious thing, which is the guitar itself. This is how you play it. And it's basically a piece of wood, is what a guitar is, with strings on it. This is called a classical guitar. It's an acoustic guitar. On an acoustic guitar or a classical guitar, you've got this, which is a sound hole, which is for an instrument that's not amplified, you need sound waves to be moving around. And what this essentially does is makes it louder. It pronounces the sound. There's more air. There's more volume of air inside the body of the guitar that's being moved around. Sound is about vibration, traveling through things. So you can do something. If you put your teeth on the edge of the guitar, you'll be able to hear it really loud because it's vibrating through your head. Handy trick if you're using an electric guitar and you don't have an amplifier and you're struggling to hear yourself for some reason. Bite it. And it's quite often sold as a learner guitar or a children's guitar, beginner's guitar, that kind of thing. I would say it isn't. They're actually quite hard to play because they're sodding massive. The neck is enormous. It's really wide compared to electric or even other acoustic instruments, acoustic guitars. It's also quite thick on the back, so it's kind of quite hard to wrap your hand around. So that immediately makes it quite difficult. But fundamentally, all guitars work the same way. And I think this one will be a good place to start to show you what all the different things are called, because that's what this video is about. So this big bit here is called the body, probably because it looks like a body. Certainly looks like my body. And then this bit here is called the neck. That's probably the two most important parts of it. Then you've got this bit, which is the headstock. Body, neck, headstock. It's a bloody human being, isn't it? Now, slightly more complicated. These are the strings. Human beings don't really have strings. So I suppose the similarities probably end there, at least in the naming. But the strings are what make the noise. And the body is what amplifies, in this case, for an acoustic instrument. The body and the sound hole is what amplifies that sound. If it wasn't for the sound hole and all this wood, you would just hear this very faintly. But the air in here is being moved around by the vibrations, and it makes it louder. Each string is tuned to a different pitch, and they have they're different sizes. How a guitar actually works is that this string is vibrating when I pluck it, so see it vibrating. Now the length of that string dictates the pitch. So when it's this long, it's going to make an E sound. I can't remember the frequency for E. You're an alien, so you can know about frequencies. But I do remember for A. It's 440 hertz. So that length of string at that gauge is going to make a tone which is 440 hertz. And you can change the length of the string by pushing down at certain places on the neck. And this bit is called the fretboard. The bit that I'm pushing against is the fretboard. And I can change the length of the string by pushing against the fretboard. This is a headstock. Some guitars don't have them. It's a more complicated thing. It's pretty rare you see a guitar with a headstock. Most of them do, unless you're at level 42. So headstock, and then the strings come up here and they go onto machine heads or tuning pegs, which you can see here. And what they're doing is just changing the amount of tension on the string. So you're kind of, it means you're kind of able to accurately change. If you loosen the string, you can kind of adjust the pitch. That's essentially what that's doing. So yeah, tuning pegs, machine heads. Again, come in different shapes and sizes and flavors. Some guitars have them all on the top. Some guitars have 3 and 3 like this. There's variations, but that's the basics of it. This little fella here, this white thing, that's called the nut, and that essentially is, it just allows the strings to sit in here. If I hold it real close, you can see they're it's kind of notched out, so the strings just sit in there. And without that, you wouldn't really get a good sound, because what you need is for the string to sit or to stay off the fretboard. So you can imagine if that wasn't there, it would just be pushing against the fretboard, and it wouldn't be very good. So that it's almost like an like you're putting your finger here, you're fretting that. These are called frets. These little metal guys in here, and it's kind of, it can be a bit confusing because these are also frets, the spaces in between, and they go up in numbers. So you start with 0 or open, so 0 and tab, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., etc., etc. Now this is why I said about guitars, this not really being much of a learner guitar. It has no fret markers, so it's quite handy when you're playing guitar to be able to look down and see, this is my 3rd fret, and of course you'd be looking at it from this angle. Now these guitars, they don't even have them here, whereas a guitar like this has fret markers, so you can see what number kind of fairly easily, 3, 5, 7, and they're also on this side too. So you can see, and then the double one up here, that means the 12th fret, which is an octave. It's exactly 8 full tones above the open, which is see what I mean? It's kind of hard to guess without the fret markers, which is another for this guitar being used as a children's guitar or a learner guitar. And then here, this is called the bridge. They can come in a variety of different shapes and sizes. You can get different tremolo bars and floating tremolos and Bigsby tremolos, and there's a whole bunch of different things you can have, but it's fundamentally an anchoring point for your strings. It's the same principle as the nut up here I showed you earlier. It's raising the strings off the fretboard and giving you a nice clean string all the way down the length from the nut to the bridge. So it's very important, and a lot of them have different gizmos and adjusters so you can move things around and adjust the height of the string and blah 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 blah. But you're an alien, and this is the first guitar you've ever seen. So yeah, this is the bridge. Like I said, just think of it as a point your strings need to be attached to,